Well, I suppose the battle was at the beginning, you know, when Emma first showed signs, which I didn't know was epilepsy at the time. However, she was doing a lot of head dropping and things when she was about 6 months old. And of course, I'd thought this is not normal. I'd had children before, I'd worked with children, so I knew this wasn't a normal thing. And I'd lost a child the year before, and I felt that the doctor was treating me more like a paranoid mother, you know, you know, just being oversensitive because I had previously lost a child. And eventually, after 2 or 3 visits to the doctors and nothing really being done about it, I said to my husband, if she does this again, we're going to hospital, which we did probably a day or so after. So they put her on monitors for the 24 hours, and she had 30 seizures in that 24 hours. It was a relief for me to then feel as though, do they believe me now? You know, but it was trying to get this recognition that, yes, there's something wrong here. Her epilepsy changed throughout the years from when she was wee, and eventually seemed to settle down, and everything seemed to be quite good with her. And then when she was about 6, 7, she started having absence seizures and petit mal. But she wasn't having tonic-clonic seizures or anything like that at that point. When she hit her teens, mid-teens, just I think it became hormonal after that. And probably about 18, I can't remember exactly the time, that's when she started to take tonic-clonic seizures again, you know, and all these absence seizures. Eventually, she was transferred into adult services because Glasgow, the children's services moved into the Queen Elizabeth, and she was kept with them until she was 20, nearly 21, before she went into adult services. And that's when we felt everything really changed for her. And it was quite difficult. And the consultant there actually at one point said to Emma, I don't think you've got epileptic seizures. After 20 years or 21 years of being treated for epilepsy, suddenly coming away with that. And as you can imagine, Emma and both myself were both very angry about that. But it was later on, after Emma died, that the consultant said to me I was wrong in saying that, you know. So trying to get to see a consultant was really difficult. The appointments were 15 months between. For the consultant, okay, she had the option to phone the epilepsy nurse, but even that could be difficult. She would phone and maybe go to an answer phone, or calls were missed and things. And I just feel she wasn't getting the care she should have been getting, considering that she was having seizures every month, and they were often related to her periods. The periods were a bit unreliable. So although they had given her medication that she could take when the periods were about to start, she sometimes didn't know they were going to start, and they triggered off the seizures. And then when they were coming to an end, and sometimes they lasted for a while, they would trigger off seizures again as well. And I felt there should have been some sort of gynecological sort of mix as well with epilepsy, that maybe some specialists they could look into that more, you know, because since Emma's died, I've found out that this seems to be a common factor, periods triggering seizures. And this is maybe something that needs to be researched more. I don't know if there's research currently going on, but I definitely think there's something in that. Emma died on the 28th of April 2023. She was 26 at the time. So it was quite devastating for us. And I think, you know, it has always been one of my greatest fears. But as I said, I previously said, I felt I put the trust in the NHS, and subsequently finding out that there was other things that could have been offered to her, you know, I've been quite annoyed and angry about it, you know. I think their emphasis was more on, oh, well, she might have a baby and things. Now, Emma had the coil, so the chances of her falling pregnant were very slim. I don't know the percentages, but I'm assuming because she was on the coil that, you know, there was very slim chance of falling pregnant. And as I say, she had no intention of having children. I think she'd said to them, I may in the future, but she wasn't considering children at that point. And I think she should have been, if that sodium valproate was offered to her, she should have had the choice of whether she wanted to take it. And weigh up the risks, you know. I certainly would have been telling her, yes, I think you should take this, because you're not going to be able to have children if you're dead anyway. So, you know, and with Emma's epilepsy, the way it was going, it was just progressively getting worse, you know, and I think sodium valproate may have been the answer for her. I'm not saying 100% it would have been, but she should have been given the chance of it, you know, because that's the only thing I think that might have saved her, you know, so.